Hello, we are making a video. The baby dog, Paul and I. So I can't show baby dog because then I might accidentally show Paul. So this video here is my main thought that I've been thinking since yesterday is, and I always think this, on New Year's Eve. Yesterday was New Year's Eve, and I made a video that was not very good. So I'm making the video today. This is the new year now, January 1st, 2026. We're here to avoid the fireworks and firecrackers for the baby dog because he gets too upset and he runs for hours and hours and hours drinking water and barking. And so when we're at the other house, so that's why we come here where the people are farther away from each other, and I heard fireworks in the distance, but not anyone and around this property. So not the next door neighbors and not the neighbors behind them. It was further down in the distance. And that was manageable, and the baby dog did not bark and run, and he was relaxed in bed and feeling good. Okay, so, and that's what I want for all animals. That's what I want for all dogs. And the marine mammals in the hospital, I want them to have peace. And I want all the wild animals to have peace. The birds, they're sleeping at night. They don't want fireworks. So we have to outlaw all fireworks and all firecrackers. This is very, very important. It is against the law in Switzerland. So this is a role model country, and we need to do that as well. So here in the United States, and the more countries are outlawing fireworks and firecrackers, then the more countries will follow into their footsteps. So, and it needs to be done worldwide. But we start here with our country. So, very important message. This is a very important message that I have. Paul showed me last night at 12 midnight when I heard the fireworks in the distance. Paul showed me some photos of different places around the globe, how they celebrate their New Year celebration. And it showed that in Japan and China, they do a light show. They do an LED and projection light show instead of fireworks. Because they're smart. They're smarter than anyone else. Okay, so, and the people in Switzerland are very smart too. Okay, the mecca of the banking system. They're very smart. So they don't want lousy fireworks and firecrackers everywhere and polluting the city and noise pollution and all of that stress. What's the point in that? There's no point in it. So Switzerland, Japan, and China, I don't know if it's outlawed in Japan and China, but the capital cities and the ones that have the government seats, the ones that have large parks, they did the light show instead of the dangerous explosive stuff. So because they're very smart, and that looked so much nicer, you know. the light show, I've seen some videos of light shows in Asia, and that looks really, really amazing. They have light projections onto buildings, just incredible. They have ocean waves projection onto buildings, and ETs, and all kinds of amazing stuff. So that is the future for shows and for park celebrations. That's the future of light shows and mass celebration shows. Okay, so that's the future, and that's the role model for all of us. And all the fireworks and firecrackers need to become the past. It's outdated. It's awful. It is a waste of resources and money. It doesn't do anyone any good. According to Tony Robbins, it would be a class 4 experience. Fireworks and firecrackers are Tony Robbins' class 4 experience, something that does not feel good, is not good for you, is not good for others, and does not serve the greater good. So, class 4 experience is something we need to ban, we need to outlaw. Okay, so that's all there is to it. So the light shows like this here on the ceiling, light shows like that projected onto large buildings and in parks, and even light shows where they project something into the air, like Elon Musk has those type of shows. So that's what we want to encourage people to do, instead of shooting dangerous explosives into the air, or scaring dogs or animals with firecrackers, or children get scared too. And it's just, fireworks, explosives need to be outlawed. They don't serve anything, they don't help anything, they just cause accidents, they cause physical injuries, they cause tremendous stress to the animals, so it needs to be outlawed. So the future is LED light shows and light projections onto walls, onto large high-rise buildings, or light projections that are projected into the sky, onto the clouds, or just into mid-air. And so that's the stuff that looks great. That's what looks and feels fantastic. Okay, and everyone loves it. People film that with their phones. So that's what the world needs. Okay, not the dangerous stuff anymore. No more incinerations. No more playing with fire. Okay, in any way. Okay, physically or metaphorically. So let's not play around with dangerous things anymore, and we need to outlaw all the dangerous stuff. So regarding guns, okay, no one should be allowed to shoot a gun into the air just for fun, or for celebration or something. That should be outlawed. So having a gun only for protection, and only to use in an absolute extreme emergency situation, and for no other reason. So that's what we need to have. Okay, so I really strongly believe that. I used to be against guns. I used to be for gun control until I realized that that wasn't going anywhere either. So obviously, many people, particularly women, should carry a self-protection device with them in their backpacks. Pepper spray, pepper guns. I have a pepper gun. I've never used it, and I hope I don't ever have to use it. So, and stun guns, maybe even flare guns, or like fire thrower guns or something like this. Flamethrower guns and bullet guns, of course, but all of these dangerous things, they should be reserved only for an absolute extreme emergency situation and for no other reason. Not for fun or playing around or showing off or something like that. So it's very important to keep this in mind. So I have a lot of thoughts that go through my mind all the time in regards to making the world a better place. And I want to share that with people because it's important to me to share that in my videos. Very important. Even if no one watches my videos, it's very important for me to talk about this, even though I feel self-conscious and all of that. And I feel like I repeat myself, or I might stutter, or my brain reverses things sometimes. All of that's not easy. It's not easy at all. But I feel very, very strongly about sharing your life and your thoughts. And I feel strongly about this for myself and for the whole world. I feel like everyone should do that. If everyone came out of the closet with their demons and mental illness and worries and fears and in any regard, okay, so if everyone said, this is my life, this is who I am, whether you're gay or straight or fearful or mentally ill or whatever it is that people are keeping bottled up, okay, I encourage people to come out to the public and discuss that publicly, talk about it, vent it out, cry it out, share that, share your thoughts on how to make the world a better place, what you think will make the world a better place. If people disagree, they can comment, and let's create a conversation, so without anger, without rage, without bullying people. Let's create a conversation. Everyone has freedom of speech, should have freedom of speech. Everyone should have the right to comment and say, I agree with you or I disagree with you. And we can say, I agree with this, but I don't agree with the other thing. So this is what I agree with, and this is why I agree with it. I think that's great you brought it up. Or I disagree with it, and here's why I disagree with it. And, You bring up all the points why you disagree with it. And that can be done in a civil and respectful way, without shouting at people, without calling someone names, without insults. It's just so lame, right? To use insults. I mean, just the total class 4 experience to use insults. It doesn't serve you anything, doesn't help the other people. It just hits into the same pain that someone already carries. And then I see that often the people that are actually feeling very self-conscious, they already have that pain of, oh, they don't know how other people perceive them, or they feel like they want to hide themselves, but they have something important to say. So then that's real courage, to speak out even if you're afraid. That's real courage. So it's often those people that get bullied the most. So, and I understand what people are afraid, what children are afraid to talk about their lives in public, because there are so many haters on the internet, and they don't show themselves. They never show themselves. They don't even show a photo of themselves. They show someone else's photo. They'll show the photo of Vin Diesel and have a name like Sinclair Mark. I've seen it all on Facebook. That name used in many combinations and variations, or with another name added to it, or completely different name. And they sell themselves as that man in the movies, right? Because they're either afraid, they're some kind of criminal on the run, and then they don't want to show themselves. Or they feel self-conscious about the way they look, so they use someone else's photo and say, that's how I look like, right? No, it's just so obvious. Everyone knows how Vin Diesel looks like, and Barack Obama, and there are people that use Barack Obama's photo. And that guy really is not very pretty, okay? So, and then, I mean, how bad do these people feel, right? They must be feeling really bad about the way they look. And I find that that's a subject to discuss all the time, because I find that unbelievably sad, that it seems like the majority of humans, particularly men, feel like I think they feel ugly, or they feel ridiculous or something. Can you not do these sounds, please? Is that a possibility? Can you not do the hearing aid sounds? Because the hearing aid sounds are just, to me, it's just unbelievably awful. So awful bad. That hearing aid sound. That squealy, artificial, squeaky hearing aid sounds. It's awful bad. It's awful terrible. So, and these things are in my videos all the time. This kind of stuff's in my video all the time. Me feeling, getting OCD reactions, all of this is in my videos, and I'm not gonna edit this out, because I want to hide. I want to, like, okay, make a video like this here. Hello. Yeah, but that's not gonna get us anywhere, okay? Sometimes when I feel really bad, there's no way I can make a video. So, or when I'm angry, really angry, it just has no sense to even start it. It would be still good to make the video to show people that I'm not always feeling super great. And I get angry at the hearing aid sounds. So, and then I feel like, no, the video is ruined now or something. But I also don't want to give this false impression to people that I'm always in this sovereign mental state or something, or always feeling creative and radiant and flamboyant and iridescent, right? No, only that light on the ceiling is always radiant and flamboyant and iridescent and full of humor. And no, I don't. I'm not. Oh, I'm moody. My mood changes according to the situation. So my mood changes all the time. Okay. So usually when I make videos, I'm in a calm, relaxed state, right? But when I hear the screeching of the hearing aids, it puts me into bad mood momentarily. And why should I edit that out? I mean, then people think, that lady is always in a good mood, right? She's always on top of everything, on top of the world, with humor. No, I'm not. Not at all. Okay. I try to heal and I try to have a calm mental state as much as possible in my life. I mean, that's desirable, right? To walk through life with a calm mental state and not be bothered by anything. So just laugh everything off. And so yeah, there maybe I can laugh too, but usually I'm angry and then I laugh and then I'm angry again and then I cry, then I laugh again, then I'm calm again, and it just goes back and forth all the time. But that's kind of like, that is what the living experience is. So when you see people in video making videos, most people do not show themselves when they are feeling in despair or suicidal or angry or upset. Most people do not show that. There's very few people that show that, and those are pretty courageous that show that. And I want to be courageous. I want to not edit my videos. I want to show myself the way I am, okay, and the way I feel, with the double chin and with the way I feel. I feel awkward. I feel insecure. I get angry sometimes. My brain reverses things. Yeah, I want to show that the way it is. I have Asperger's. I want to talk about it. Okay, more and more people have Asperger's. I don't know why that is. So, and then the question arises: is Asperger's actually a disability? Is that a malfunction? Or is that actually something good? Is that part of intelligence? Is that just part of heightened awareness and high IQ and sensitivity? Is this part of thinking outside of the box, right? So, I don't know. But it's a question that I can ask. Is this actually autism, or is this an ability? This is a specific ability to see outside of the box, outside of the mainstream story that everyone believes, right? So people with Asperger's, they tend to explore farther out. They tend to question things, and they see a bigger picture. They see things other people don't see. They see a much wider spectrum of reality. I see that as an ability. I see that as an advantage. So, but when the majority of people don't have that, they will, of course, conveniently point the finger at the ones with Asperger's and say, look at those. They're disabled. So, that's an easy accusation to make, So, but wait until the majority of people have Asperger's. Then are you still gonna point the finger and say, oh, that's a flaw, or that's some kind of disability? But not because. Let's not make the mistake and say, oh, the ones that the characteristic that most people have can now be viewed as the norm. It might become the norm, but it might not be so desirable to have, right? So most people do not think outside of what most people believe. That may be the norm, but is that desirable? That's a question that we should raise. Is it desirable to not be able to think outside of the mainstream narrative that you have all been told by others who also believe it? So, I personally do not view that as desirable. That could be seen as the norm, but norm is not automatically synonymous with desirability, with something that you might wish to have, something that you call ideal or great or pleasant. So many unpleasant things are the norm, to say the least. So, and they need to be questioned, and we need to figure out how we heal it. So, and people say, oh, you added a word to the dictionary that is not in the dictionary. You are making up words. I get accusations, right, from other people. They are not in the dictionary, so you cannot use it. You are just making up words. So who are you to tell me I cannot make up a word? Why would you think that one cannot create a new word and add it to the Oxford Dictionary. So I would like to know, so we have to stay stagnated with a specific belief system that the majority of people, the norm, has? Or can we maybe be opening up our horizon just enough to have enough courtesy to listen to someone bring new ideas into the world, to listen to a scientist with new thoughts, with new ideas, Donald Hoffman. Widen your horizon enough to listen to Donald Hoffman or to Jiddu Krishnamurti or Thich Nhat Hanh. Or Ingrid Newkirk, right? Have enough respect and enough tolerance to at least listen to what these people have to say. They may not be the norm, but that doesn't mean anything. They're not the norm. So if they were the norm, the world would be a better place. If Ingrid Newkirk was the norm, if the way she thinks would be the way most people think, can you imagine how the world could be? The ETs would have already visited us. Long time already. They would have already visited us 3,000 years ago. I know ETs have visited, but very long time ago, before people became the way they are, the way most people are now, like boxed up way of thinking and killing others, killing people who are different. So that's, ETs want nothing to do with it. Okay, so if everyone thought like Ingrid Newkirk and Captain Paul Watson, they would have been here, they would have visited us every year. They would have partied with us. They would have met us as equals and felt safe. Okay, the entire atmosphere would be different, not just in terms of oxygen. That too, we would have much higher oxygen content if everyone thought like Captain Paul Watson and Ingrid Newkirk and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Okay, we would still have forests, oxygen. The whales would have food to eat. There would be no overfishing. There would be no pollution. But also in energetic terms, the energy, the energy level of love energy, there would be much higher vibration everywhere. If it was the norm, the way Ingrid Newkirk thinks and feels. Ashtar would be here, would be visiting us. And I hope that we can make our world good enough, fair enough, so that the ETs feel safe to come here. They need to feel safe. They're highly sensitive. They are like people with Asperger's. They are like the people here that are highly, highly sensitive, like the princesses on the peas. Okay, like myself, like what Friedrich Nietzsche said, that there are people in the world that can't handle anything. Uh, he was talking about himself. He's talking about me. Okay. Nicola, Mama Nicola, the princess on the pea. Everything is too much for me. I can make a poem about it. And I believe the ETs, the Pleiadians, and the Arcturians, and the Andromedans, they're all way, 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 way more sensitive than the regular brutes, the regular ape humans. So, yeah, so, and they said you can't just take that out of the ape human's hands. You can't just. This is a big subject for me to wrap my head around. You can't just take these guns out of their hands and you can't just take this agency out of their hands. They have to be allowed to make their mistakes, even if it takes thousands of years. They have to be allowed to make their hideous, gruesome mistakes. The Inquisition, just one example, where they butcher everyone up because they think they're witches. And the ETs would say, let them make these mistakes until they learn. Let them have that agency of butchering up. They're butchering up the very people that make the world a better place. They butcher up the witches, in 1600. It was the witches that were the scientists, the thinkers, the shakers, the movers, the love bringers, the light bringers, the rescuers, the saviors. Those were the witches. If you want to call them witches. I don't care how people call them. I don't care how I'm called. The light bringers, the love bringers. Jesus Christ is part of that. Friedrich Nietzsche is part of that. I'm part of that. Joan of Arc is part of that.
News.
Captain Paul Watson is part of that. Ingrid Newkirk is part of that. The people that see and feel, and they understand what is needed, what is necessary. So the handful of people that delivered love and better management to the world, those were the ones called witches and other names, and those were the ones that were persecuted and executed and butchered up and dismembered and beheaded over and over and over and over and over and over. In the Middle East, they are still doing it the way they did it in Europe during the Inquisition. They are literally more than 400 years back in time, was that hideous religion. And the Christian religion was no better. The Christian religion was no better than Islam. Paul even suggested that they were actually worse. They were actually worse than Islam. The Christian religion that so many people cling to. So, obviously, the religion evolves because people evolve, right? Legal systems evolve. Certain legal systems don't allow the witch hunt anymore, right? So then the religion follows. So it evolves, right? It wouldn't evolve if it wasn't for the feminists and the animal rights activists and the light bringers. But the light bringers and all of them butchered up during the 1600s or today in the Middle East. And the ETs say, let them make these mistakes. Let them continue to do it until they understand that it is a mistake to butcher up sensitive, kind-hearted visionaries. They cut their own throats by cutting these other people's throats. They cut off their own paradise by cutting these good people out of their lives. Because the good people are the ones that bring you the goodies and the luxury. Elon Musk is bringing you goodies, luxury, light and love. And look how many people are out there that want to kill him. Still, to this day. I get angry about this, of course. That makes me very angry when I see that. When I see how many people are coming after Elon Musk and all the good Samaritans. And the ETs say, we can't interfere, we have to give you, the society as a whole, we have to let you have that agency of making mistakes. This is where I differ with the ETs. I am Vladimir the Impaler, okay, if you compare me to the ETs. So I am not on their level. I think I have some of the ET in me, but I'm not on that level yet. I'm far away from that. So, but the ETs would visit with us if everyone was like me. They would visit with Vladimir the Impaler. I say that as a fun name, but I don't know Vladimir the Impaler, what that guy was actually about, So there was the godfather of vampirism or whatever, So that's where the idea came from, I guess. But there was some kind of dictator out there in Kazakhstan, I think. So I think there was a tyrannical dictator. But I don't know him, so I don't know 100% what this person was about. Maybe that person was just scared, and it was much rougher in the past. So in the past, it was so rough that it was completely different than today. So there were only pockets of tribes that lived far away from each other. Pockets of tribes. So that's how less populated the planet was. And so there was one pocket that had Vladimir the Impaler as the leader. And if they didn't defend themselves, they would all get killed by the other Impalers. That was the reality of it. So, but if Vladimir the Impaler, and I don't know him, I'm just guessing, but I think he may have been a good person. So if he didn't feel threatened, right? I feel threatened. And I feel threatened for the other good beings. That makes me a Vladimir the Impaler. That makes me not on board with the Pleiadians that say, oh, we need to let the overall human species here on Earth, the ones with the hands and feet, the whales are way more advanced than we are. Okay. So, but unfortunately, it's the apes with hands and feet, with the hand that has this particular shape, where you can do things with it. You can build weapons with that hand. And that's unfortunately what puts the human species into the so-called apex. But mentally, philosophically, they're not on top. The whales are more advanced, particularly the largest whales, the blue whale and the macrocephalus. Those are the largest whales. They are much more advanced than we are cognitively. But they are not, they don't have leverage in terms of action on this planet because they don't have hands. That's why. If they had hands and arms and this body that is able to create stuff here on land, then it would be a much different story. Then they would be preventing these crazy apes from running completely insane and hurting everyone. Then if the blue whales had a body like we have, they would dominate this planet, and they would be benevolent dictators. And they would not allow us to make these mistakes. Just as I would not allow people to make these mistakes. I couldn't. I just can't. I cannot be on some cloud throne and say, let the humans make their mistakes. This is it's a dilemma situation of unimaginable proportions. And I know that Ashtar would understand what I'm talking about. I know he understands. He understands my dilemma with that. But he himself, if he was here on Earth, he would be another Jiddu Krishnamurti. Jesus Christ was not on that level. Jesus Christ was not on that Buddha level. That's a fact. Okay. Jesus Christ was Pleiadian, mind and kindness and everything, but not on the level of the Buddha. Jesus Christ was still Vladimir the Impaler on that level. Okay, so is that good or is that bad? That is a question we should ask, right? This goes deep into philosophy now, what I'm talking about. Should you let a species, in order for them to organically learn from their mistakes, because you learn better from mistakes, you do, then much better than if you are told. If you're told, then it's some kind of learning by the book, right? Doing things by the book. Does it sit really if you learn from someone who tells you versus learn from your terrible mistakes, right? If a child falls off the bicycle because they're too rambunctious and they skin their knees, that sits better than if the mother says, hey, you should not be so rambunctious. You could hurt yourself really bad. But then if the child doesn't fall down and break their neck, but instead they skin their knees, then that is a much stronger learning lesson, obviously. So I agree, I understand that. But as an animal mother, I cannot allow other people to continue butchering up others until they finally learn that it was not a good idea to butcher up others, particularly butchering up these good Samaritans. Right? So I cannot be standing there and watching and allowing them to do it. I just can't. I'm an animal mother. I have a conscience. I have empathy. I have compassion. So this is from a wider perspective. This is a real serious dilemma situation. That's how I view it. This is the Buddha dilemma situation. And that Ashtar, if here on earth, he would probably try to push someone who comes at him with a knife. He probably grab them by the wrist and twist them over or something and twist the knife out of their hands. But he wouldn't take the knife and then kill that person. He would put that person into an insane asylum, probably. But if 100 people came at him and threatened him with their knives, then I don't know what he would do. What would Siddha Krishnamurti do? What would the Buddha do, If he had, let's say if he had a bomb in his hand, and there's a herd of gladiators from Venezuela with weapons coming at him. And he had 10 more seconds to throw that bomb to kill him or to chase him away. Would he throw that bomb, or would he let them come over and kill him? I mean, for me, that's obvious what I would do. I would throw that bomb. It's obvious. So that is what the US military today, to this very moment, with Pete Hegseth, that is that very dilemma situation. The judgmental people, the Democrats and the string holders, that's very easy for them to throw accusations and say, oh, we're gonna impeach them, we're there, look what they're doing, they're causing a war and they're hurting people. Whew, my goodness, what did the Biden criminals do? They created world wars. They created unimaginable suffering. Pete Hegseth is trying to eliminate that suffering by getting rid of the drug boats, by getting rid of the drug vendors. The drug vendors are causing our children unimaginable suffering. Okay? This is a fact. This is that dilemma situation. Okay? He is Gautama Buddha. He has a bomb in his hand. Should he use the bomb to kill these 100 Venezuelans that are coming at him? Okay. I'm just using this word Venezuela. I know there are kind-hearted Venezuelans out there too, but they're probably in an absolute extreme minority. Okay, and that's a fact, statistical fact. So most of them have their price, and they'll do anything for money. Bring drugs over to the United States, and then they wonder why they're being blown up. My question I have for Greta Thunberg is, first of all, Greta, I appreciate you, okay? I've always been supporting you. But you are turning your back on innocent people and innocent animals by letting, just to use this terminology, by letting the 100 armed Venezuelans come after Gautama Buddha. Okay. I understand this, you see this probably from a completely different angle, this whole thing. But I challenge you to please view it from the animal mother perspective angle. Please view it from every angle. Try to view it from my angle, from my perspective. If you have a dog, if you have children, I know you love animals. If you have a beloved dog, and there are Muslims, and you know what their belief system is, they don't even allow dogs in the house. They punish people. They torture people who bring dogs in the house. That's how hideous these people are. Yet you are defending these very Muslims. If you have a beloved dog, do you let these Muslims kill your dog? Do you let these Muslims beat you, whip you for bringing your dog in the house? That's a legitimate question to ask. So I find fault with you defending these Muslims. I'm sure there are kind-hearted people in the Middle East too. And even some that are still clinging to that religion, but that would themselves never hurt a dog or a person. Right? I'm sure there are those, but they are in the absolute minority. There are even some absolute jewels, like that lady that is rescuing dogs in Iran. There's one lady in entire Iran, one lady that became famous, a Middle Eastern woman who's rescuing dogs. She's not allowed to bring them in the house, so they have to, and that Kabul animal shelter too in Afghanistan, they have to have, those are great people. They have these outdoor spaces that are surrounded by walls, so because they're not allowed to bring the dogs in the house. So, and then in the winter time they're going to have to, or in blasting heat and sunlight, they're going to have to figure something, some kind of alternative to protect the animals. And it's not going to be easy because of their governments. Okay, because their governments are run and infested with Islam. Okay, and their entire legal system is infested with Islam. It's this hideous religion. Fighting for these hideous people is not making the world a better place. And that's my criticism I have with Greta Thunberg's approach. So, if I can ask Ashtar now for his view on this, I would love to do it. How does Ashtar view this? What Greta Thunberg is doing? Siding with violent terrorists, probably becoming one in the process of it, right? Is that making the world a better place? I can't imagine that Ashtar would be in support of that. What would Jiddu Krishnamurti say? He was asked this question once, and he said he would defend himself. He would have to use whatever means he has to defend himself, probably also his loved ones, right? He would have to. But as a general sentiment, he would not create a militia or military. He's against that. So Ashtar, the Pleiadians, the ETs that are out there, they're monitoring our Earth. They're afraid to come here because people are too bellicose. They're too warmongering. They're too dangerous in every respect, energetically and physically and mentally. So they're against the militia. They're against creating militias. But I see how people easily can create a militia. How easily that happens. It's a sliding scale. This goes deep into a philosophical debate. Deep into it. Military, I completely reject military. Right? Military is militia on a vast scale. It is a war front. It is going to war with people you have never seen before. You don't even know anything about them. That's war, and I reject that completely. Now, militia, it's a little different, right? But where do you draw the line? That's the question. Where do you draw the line? So I have to ask these very difficult questions to myself, because I don't know the answer to it. I don't know where I draw the line. And at how many people in a militia do I call it a war front or a military? At which point do I call it mindless obedience, which I'm against? Okay, so this is a question we need to ask. So, does a militia work if everyone makes their own decisions? Then it would end up in total chaos, and the other the opponents will probably get the upper hand. So, very difficult questions, those. You can't just accuse and condemn Pete Hegseth. You cannot do that. He's trying to protect our children from drug vendors. And I'm 100% in support and on his side. I'm 100% on the side of the US government and military the way it is currently handled and managed by the good Samaritans. Okay. I'm terrified of the future of another government, of another regime. What makes me really mad is the previous regime and the people in law enforcement and military that would then blindly obey these evil orders. That makes me mad. So that's why I think teaching children in schools about ethics philosophy is a must do. It should be mandatory to teach every single person and child about these very questions, about ethics, about these deep philosophical questions, deep philosophical territory that everyone needs to discuss, think about, and wrap their heads around. Okay? And you can't start early enough with that. You start in kindergarten with that. And you use simple examples for that. And as they get older, you can use more complex examples. This is what we need to discuss. That's why I think it is so vitally important that everyone talks about their life, their problems, their emotional problems, their aspirations, their wishes. The more we get into conversations, the better we will be off. The faster we evolve mentally towards the level of Gautama Buddha and the Pleiadians and all the ETs that are highly evolved mentally, that are against military, against war, that are for peaceful solutions. Okay. But I see this is all of this is not easy. It's not like one simple solution or one simple answer. There's a lot of gray zone. There's a lot of gradients from one situation to another where you don't know what you should call it. Is this where military starts? Is this where a militia ends? And is militia good? Is that fairness? Do we need militia? Vladimir the Impaler needed it. or they would have been wiped out. So these are questions we need to ask. Very important. We used to have there was a tribal system. And if we get anarchy anytime in the future, we will be back at that, at a tribal system. And if you're not Vladimir the Impaler, then you will get impaled. And that is the dilemma situation of all of this. That's why this is not, there are no easy answers for this. But I still want to hear what Ashtar has to say about all of that. I still want to hear. And I know Ashtar is not just standing there and looking at us destroying each other. I know he isn't. I know they have their hands over the nuclear power stations. They have their hands over the nuclear warheads. And when things get very tricky, they intercept and they disable these warheads. And they've done it many times already. And I'm infinitely grateful to them for that. Infinitely grateful. That's what a mother does when the child is about to hit their head on the floor, or tear their hair out, or tear another child's hair out. Mother is not just going to stand there and say, let them sort it out and learn from their mistakes. Maybe the two kids are killing each other, right? So you have to intercept as a mother, and you have to say, kids, enough, it's enough now. I'm not letting you bang each other's heads in, okay? So I'm separating you now. Each go to their own room and cry it out and sort it out for yourself, and don't come after each other. Okay, that's not how we solve things. So I know the ETs in the same way do this on a much wider scale with the human species, with the human ape, as I call them. So the warmongering human ape. The human ape that accepts the narrative and can't think outside of the box. Okay, so dangerous. Okay. Not thinking outside of the box keeps you perpetually stupid and unevolved. And that's what we want. We want to conquer that now. We want to heal this. So this is my request to you, all of you. Let's really roll the sleeves up and go to work and heal and fix everything. And we can do it. I have a lot of solutions that I talk about in my videos. But I'm going to turn the video off now because it's getting long. So peace and love for all living beings.